Welcome to Japan, a country where ancient traditions blend with cutting-edge innovation, offering an unforgettable journey from bustling, vibrant cities to tranquil temples in a country known as the land of the rising sun. We were lucky enough to experience this incredible country during peak cherry blossom season, adding an extra layer of beauty to our adventure. Our journey will begin in Osaka, a city known as the Kitchen of Japan, where we will spend 2 days indulging in its world-renowned street food and top attractions that you don't want to miss. Next, we'll head to Kyoto, the cultural heart of the country, where we will immerse ourselves in the beauty of the temples, peaceful gardens, and the iconic cherry blossoms that define the city's serene beauty. Then we'll dive into the most populated city in the world, Tokyo, where we'll spend 4 days exploring a mix of cafes, awe-inspiring skyscrapers, and the hidden gems in between. Finally, we will wrap up our adventure with a day at Mount Fuji and soaking in the beauty of Japan's most iconic natural wonder. Join us as we spend 10 days in Japan. But first, a few tips for your trip. Getting around is both simple and affordable once you get past the initial overwhelm of entering a busy station. Tokyo's Japan Railways network is extensive, connecting the city with various neighborhoods and nearby areas, making it one of the most convenient ways to travel. To get started, we bought single-fare tickets rather than the Japan Railways Pass because it ended up to be a little bit cheaper for us to do it this way. Or you can opt for a rechargeable IC card, which works for both the JR trains and the metro lines. We relied on Google Maps for navigation, which guided us to the right train lines and connections, and we were honestly impressed by how punctual all the trains were, with clear signage in both Japanese and English. While the system is generally reliable and easy to follow, the trains can get quite packed during rush hour. There's also a certain etiquette to observe on the trains. It's quiet, where no one speaks, and eating and drinking is not allowed. The railways also connect all the cities that we will be visiting, and we even have the chance to hop on the famous bullet train. The yen is Japan's official currency, abbreviated as JPY, and is widely used throughout the country for all transactions. And as a traveler, it's important to carry yen, as smaller businesses and rural areas may not accept credit cards. For accommodations, because we were on a tight budget, we went for inexpensive Airbnbs that averaged out to about $50 per night, which were simple but did the trick for us since we were only at our stays at night. At any popular restaurant in Japan, be prepared to spend at least an hour waiting in a line for a table. This can even apply to something as simple as grabbing a cup of coffee or catching a great view of the city. Everything runs smoothly and is well organized, but the lines can still be really long. If you're in the mood for a quick bite, don't overlook the vending machines. They're a whole experience in themselves. From hot coffee to cold ice cream, we found these machines to be a fun and surprisingly convenient way to grab a snack. 7-Eleven was another great option for us to pick up a quick snack or a sandwich. We visited Japan at the tail end of March and the beginning of April, and we were fortunate enough to catch the peak of cherry blossom season, Sakura as it's called in Japanese. Of course, the timing can vary from year to year. Nature's timing is always a little bit unpredictable. The cherry blossoms are only in bloom for about 2 weeks, making it a fleeting but incredibly beautiful sight with over 300 different varieties of cherry blossom trees in the country. What made the experience even more special wasn't just the cherry blossoms themselves, but the lively festivities that accompany this season. For day one of our trip, we flew into Osaka from Vietnam and kicked off our adventure by checking into our accommodations before diving into the heart of the city's vibrant food scene. The best place to experience Osaka's culinary culture is the neon-lit Dotonbori district near the Namba station. This bustling area is lined with an array of eateries, from large restaurants to hidden gems tucked along the side streets. Our first stop was Itinerary Ramen, one of Japan's most renowned ramen spots, celebrated for perfecting the art of tonkatsu broth. This rich, creamy broth is made by simmering pork bones for hours, creating a flavor that's absolutely worth the hour-long wait. What makes Itinerary Ramen truly unique is the way that they serve their ramen. Each diner is assigned their own individual station, providing a sense of privacy and an opportunity to enjoy the meal in complete silence. After filling out a sheet with your order, your ramen is delivered directly to you from the other side of a screen, keeping the experience quiet and focused on savoring every delicious bite. Afterward, we wandered through the busy streets in search of takoyaki. We didn't have to look long. Takoyaki is one of Osaka's most iconic street foods. The batter is poured into round molds, with pieces of squid or octopus dropped inside. Once cooked, the takoyaki is topped with a savory sauce and bonito flakes. Next, we indulge in some candy strawberries on a stick and steamed buns, which were playfully shaped like little pigs and other animals, filled with a sweet red bean paste. We also tried the famous taiyaki, a fish-shaped pastry with a choice of fillings like red bean, custard, and sweet potato. We opted for sweet potato, and it did not disappoint. Next, we tried okonomiyaki, a savory pancake made with cabbage, eggs, and your choice of meat, all topped with a variety of sauces, bonito flakes, and seaweed. To wrap up our food tour for the night, we stopped by Grandma's Mochi's, where we were treated to our first mochi by the sweetest couple. Make sure to visit them. We then grabbed some mini cheesecakes from Pablo, one of Japan's top chains known for its fluffy, air-filled Japanese cheesecakes. By the evening, most of their selection was sold out, but we managed to snag a few last treats. As we wrapped up our first day in Osaka, a city of over 2.5 million people, we couldn't help but feel a sense of sensory overload. After spending the last few months in Southeast Asia, the bright lights and long lines were a big contrast to what we had grown used to. But that's part of the charm of Japan. The rush of diving headfirst into its bustling culture is an experience in itself. Day 2 in Osaka was all about soaking in the stunning cherry blossoms, and they definitely did not disappoint. We hopped on public transit and made our way across the city to begin our walk along the South Moat by Osaka Castle, where we were surrounded by lush gardens and cherry blossom trees at every turn. In one corner of the park, we stopped by Peace Osaka, a museum dedicated to World War II, offering a somber yet important reflection on history. From there, we continued our journey to the main event, Osaka Castle. Originally built in the 1580s by a warlord, the Osaka castle played an important role in Japan's unification. Although it's been destroyed and rebuilt several times, the current structure, which was reconstructed in 1931, stands tall with its impressive 5 stories. Surrounded by picturesque parks and moats, it remains one of Japan's most iconic landmarks. We spent some time taking in the historical exhibits and breathtaking views, especially with the cherry blossoms in full swing. Next, we grabbed our things from the Airbnb and made our way to the train station to catch a train for the 1-hour journey inland to Kyoto. Once we arrived, we checked into our next accommodation and took a moment to relax and prepare for another full day of exploration in this beautiful historic city. We kicked off day 3 in the early morning to visit the iconic Fuji Inari Shrine. Home to over 10,000 vibrant red gates, which were originally built in 711 AD. Despite the shrine being destroyed by a fire, it was magnificently rebuilt in the 16th century by a samurai, and its beauty and history are nothing short of awe-inspiring. Walking through the seemingly endless rows of torii gates, we couldn't help but feel the weight of its ancient charm. Our next stop was Maruyama Park, where the cherry blossoms were in full bloom, creating a stunning scene everywhere we looked. The park is also home to a peaceful river and charming little bridges, making it a perfect spot for a relaxing stroll. We explored the park during the day, but we were especially excited to return in the evening when the cherry blossom trees are beautifully lit up and a lively market appears. Next, we visited the Kiji Incline, an old railroad track, which is now a walking path beneath a canopy of cherry blossoms. Next up was the Nanzenji Temple, a starting point for the Philosopher's Path. The most famous walking route for cherry blossom viewing in Kyoto. The path runs along a serene water channel between 2 temples, and it's said to have been frequented by philosophers on their morning walks. Along the way, we stumbled upon a little ice cream shop, and of course had to grab some cherry blossom ice cream to enjoy on our walk. For lunch, we had tonkatsu ramen at a local spot, but it was so popular that we had to wait in line with a crowd outside the door. It was definitely worth the wait. After lunch, we grabbed some dessert at Second House Bakery. Then we made our way to our next cherry blossom stop, another shrine, which had stunning blossoms lining the way. Next, we visited the Kyoto Imperial Palace, which was situated in a beautiful park. Kyoto used to be the capital of Japan before it was moved to Tokyo, and by this point in the day, we had already walked 10 miles. Next, we decided to stop by a local coffee shop where we could just sit, enjoy some coffee, and rest our legs while we waited for the sun to set, to return back to Maruyama Park. The park was buzzing with food stalls, offering all sorts of delicious dishes. and the cherry blossoms were all beautifully lit up, making it the perfect end to our first day in Kyoto. To start our day on day 4, we headed over to one of Japan's most iconic and serene natural wonders, the Kyoto Bamboo Forest, also known as the Arashiyama Bamboo Grove. This lush forest feels like stepping into another world. As the bamboo stretches high above, it casts a soft green glow along the path, making it a truly unforgettable experience. Next up, don't miss the Katsura River, flowing gracefully through the western part of the city. While you're by the river, make sure to stop by the cute little coffee shop right across from it. With its minimalistic design and focus on premier coffee beans from around the world, this cafe has become a favorite for both locals and travelers. Just be ready to wait for an hour for your cup of coffee. It's that popular. Next, we grabbed a bus to get to a temple on the edge of the city, a hidden gem tucked into the hills of Kyoto. This Buddhist temple was the quietest spot that we visited our whole time in Kyoto. Founded in the 8th century, it's home to over 1,200 unique stone statues called rakan, which are Buddha's disciples. Each statue is carved with a different expression, ranging from playful and mischievous to serene and wise. And it's a really interesting place to walk around on its paths. And finally, if you have time, make sure to visit the Golden Pavilion. This Zen Buddhist temple is one of Kyoto's most famous landmarks. To end our day, we went to a popular gyoza restaurant called Gyoza Chow Chow, where we waited outside for a table for over an hour. But once seated, we were served steaming hot gyozas. Gyozas, which are Japanese dumplings filled with meat and vegetables, are typically pan-fried to create a crispy bottom and served with a dipping sauce. And these definitely lived up to the hype. Then we headed back to our Airbnb to end day 4 in the city. Day 5 was simply a travel day, where we had one of the most iconic experiences when traveling in Japan. Riding the Shinkansen, or bullet train, from Kyoto to Tokyo. Taking the bullet train is not just about getting from one city to another, but it was the experience, which was a splurge for us at $100 per ticket. The ride is fast and smooth and incredibly efficient, reaching speeds of up to 200 miles per hour. As you zip through the Japanese countryside, you can enjoy beautiful views of the landscape, and if you're lucky, you might even catch a glimpse of the majestic Mount Fuji in the distance. We kicked off day 6 in Tokyo with a visit to a unique coffee shop, the 3D Art Coffee Shop. Here, the baristas craft your coffee with a stunning 3D design right on top of your latte. As you sip your drink, you can watch the baristas work their magic, creating the most Instagram-worthy moments. After our caffeine boost, we headed straight to a Namco, a Tokyo arcade, for some classic Japanese gaming fun. Tokyo is famous for its multiple story arcades. And whether you're an avid gamer or just looking for something to do, the arcades in Tokyo are an essential stop. And also a great place to grab a tasty bubble tea. Later on in the day, we made our way to the Tokyo Municipal Government Building, where we headed up to its observation deck for a free panoramic view of the city. Although it's free, we had to wait for about an hour before we could even get to the elevator. But it was worth the wait for some of the best views in Tokyo, with the skyline stretching as far as we could see. Tokyo, one of the largest cities in the world by both population and geographic size, spans 2,194 square kilometers, or 849 square miles, and is part of the Greater Tokyo area, home to over 37 million people, making it the most populous metropolitan area on the planet. If you stay on the observation deck long enough, the sun will set and the city lights at night are equally stunning. We then hopped in a line to get back down to ground level. And once we were back on the ground, we wrapped up our day with a delicious dinner at a standing sushi bar. Again, we waited for about an hour to get a spot at this local favorite, which offered a unique sushi experience where diners stand at the counter and enjoy fresh, expertly crafted sushi right in front of them. In a casual and fast-paced setting, we sampled a variety of sushi and sashimi, including tuna, shrimp, salmon, and sea urchin. We started day 7 in Tokyo at the Nissan Crossing, where we had another unique coffee experience at a coffee shop that prints images right on your coffee. This isn't your typical cafe though. It's located on the second floor of the Nissan showroom. The baristas use technology where you can simply show them a picture and they'll print it on your latte. It's an innovative twist on your morning cup, combining technology and creativity to turn each drink into a work of art. Next up, we headed to a tranquil and beautiful garden for a traditional tea ceremony experience. This serene garden with lush greenery and koi-filled ponds provides a peaceful escape from the hustle and bustle of Tokyo. Here we were hoping to learn about the cultural aspects of a tea ceremony. However, our experience was a bit different from what we had expected. We were simply served a bowl of tea with a treat on the side, without any ceremony or explanation. While the setting was lovely, I personally would look for something a little more informative. But it was still a peaceful and calming moment during our busy day in Tokyo. After the calm of the tea ceremony, we dove right into the lively energy of the Shibuya crossing, one of the busiest and most iconic pedestrian crossings in the world. During peak hours, as many as 2,500 people can cross at once, and over 1,000 people cross in every light cycle. This chaotic intersection, where hundreds of people move in all directions at once, perfectly embodies Tokyo's fast-paced lifestyle. It's a must-see spot in the city and one of the most photographed locations in Japan. And this was the end of our day, as we headed back to our stay to get up really early the next day. We kicked off day 8 bright and early, before 4 a.m., to make our way across the city and catch the famous tuna auction at the Toyosu Fish Market located in Tokyo Bay. As one of the largest seafood markets in the world, Toyosu offers visitors the chance to witness the tuna auctions every day from around 5:45 to 6:25 a.m. from the second floor, where you can look down on the auction through a glass window. While a small number of tickets are sold for those who want to be on the floor during the auction, it is a lottery system, and we weren't lucky enough to get those tickets. But viewing from the second floor is free, and still gives you an incredible view of the action. In 2019, a 612-pound bluefish tuna was sold here for a record-breaking $3.1 million US. Next, we went to the iconic fish market where the tuna auction used to be held before it was relocated to Toyosu. This market still remains an area with lots of stalls to shop at, famous for its fresh fish, sushi, and seafood. So we went there and wandered through the narrow lanes filled with vendors offering everything from eels to squid. And we of course had to try some seafood ourselves. So on a corner we found a little stall selling tasty crab croquettes that were a 10 out of 10. After filling up on seafood, we made our way to Ralph's Coffee, a cozy coffee shop that's part of the famous Ralph Lauren brand. Whether you're shopping for luxury fashion in this area or simply just stopping by for a great cup of coffee, Ralph's provides a warming little retreat in the heart of Tokyo. Spend the rest of your day visiting Japan's oldest and most famous Buddhist temple, dating back to the 7th century. The temple is renowned for its majestic gate, a symbol of Tokyo, and the bustling shopping street that leads up to the temple, selling souvenirs and delicious snacks. The temple attracts millions of visitors each year who come to admire its architecture, gardens, and participate in its temple rituals. Relax for the rest of the day, as tomorrow will be a long day trip for 4 hours on a bus. Day 9, we started bright and early to travel an hour across the city to hop on a charter bus that would take us the 2-hour ride to the Five Lakes area near Mount Fuji. Once we made it, we went to a bike shop by the bus station where we were able to snag the last 2 bikes for the day. With bikes in hand, we cycled over to the beautiful Kawaguchi Lake. Our original plan was to first take the Fuji ropeway gondola for an even better view of Mount Fuji. But once we got there, we found out that the line was 2 hours long. So we decided to save it for later in the day, hoping that the line would die down. Next, we biked 6.5 kilometers to an iconic park that is home to the Red Pagoda, with Mount Fuji in the background. Upon arrival, we were greeted by food stands lining the walk up the hill, where we grabbed a quick lunch before continuing our ascent. On our way to the temple, we passed warning signs for bears, monkeys, and boars, although all we saw when we were there were the monkeys. After exploring the area, we waited in line for about an hour to reach the observation deck, where we were treated to the breathtaking view of the pagoda with Mount Fuji in the backdrop. The view is absolutely stunning, although after waiting an hour, we only had about 5 minutes to snap our photos before being ushered off of the platform. Since Mount Fuji is only visible about 80 days a year due to the weather system surrounding it, we were incredibly lucky to have a sunny day during peak cherry blossom season. Once we finished at the observation deck, we rushed back to the lake, just in time for our 30-minute boat tour. The cost was 750 yen per person, and it was a beautiful way to see the lake from a different perspective. After the boat ride, Jordan headed over to get in line for the gondola, while I went to a little bakery and grabbed us 2 slices of cheesecake. The cost of the gondola was $7 per person for the ride up, and we chose to take the walk down ourselves. But the views from the top were definitely worth the wait, and the perfect way to end the day at Mount Fuji. On day 10, it was sadly time for us to wrap up our incredible time in Japan. After an unforgettable journey through the streets of Tokyo, gardens, temples, and delicious food experiences, we sadly headed to the airport to catch our flight to our next destination. Japan has truly captured our hearts, and we have only scratched the surface of what this amazing country has to offer. As for our budget for the trip, our total cost for accommodations was $540, as we booked budget-friendly Airbnbs ranging from $45 to $60 per night. These were nothing fancy, just simple places to rest after a long day of exploring. Food expenses came out to $448, while transportation, including $200 for bullet train tickets, added up to $489. Our excursions and other miscellaneous costs totaled $100, bringing our overall spending to $1,577 for 2 people over 10 days, not including flights. Please note that this is on a budget, where we did not show all the times we ate ramen noodles out of a cup in our Airbnb or grabbed cheap sandwiches from 7-Eleven. We hope that our guide has helped you plan your next trip to Japan and fully experience its incredible culture and beauty. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up. And let us know in the comments which country you'd like us to cover next. And we can't wait to see you on the next adventure soon.